to take sovereignty over his life, for God's sakes. That I am living this life as the director, the pilot of my life. That I have the ability to direct this tremendous life form, the field that Lynn McTaggart calls it, the field of all potential, all possibility. I have the ability to tap into that because I am that. It's kind of mysterious, but that's the way it is. We either get it or live with it or something. And being that this is 9/11, I think it behooves Angelo to speak about that. Because that 9/11, what happened 10 years ago, is showing the world the power of manifestation. How many of you would agree with this? Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. What happened 10 years ago at Ground Zero, the very night that after it happened, Mayor Rudy Giuliani made this statement. It was a tremendous statement. It was almost like it was a decision. And what he said was that we are going to rebuild. And it will be stronger than ever before. Isn't that cool? That, my friends, is an affirmation. But it includes with it that affirmation, because just the words don't mean a diddly squat. We can repeat words over and over again, and it doesn't mean anything, because the universe is going to say, oh, they're just repeating words. But when Giuliani said that word, he involved everything in his life form. We have a community of 50 trillion cells that we call our body. They're all living cells. They're intelligent cells. And they communicate with each other. We know that. I got a cut in my arm the other day, and you can't even see it anymore. They communicated and said, let's take care of this for Angelo. So every cell in his body radiated with this decision. And he had what we call a perfect affirmation. He had the words, he had the thought, and he had the feeling. And it all came together. So what's happened here? It's awesome. Awesome. Millions of people are witnessing the power of affirmation. It's kind of cool. And what are they witnessing? Well, they're seeing it through the paper, they're seeing it through TV, and they're seeing it in life form. I mean, they're there. And what are they seeing? And when he made that statement, it created quite an interesting dialogue. It took 10 years. He had to go through a lot of bureaucracy. He had to go through people in the families whose children and whose wife and spouses didn't make it through that. Because they didn't want, why do we need another building? Why do we need to be bigger and greater? So he had to go through that dialogue. Others just wanted a memorial with the waterfalls. There's a lot of dialogue that transpired. The key is not, as somebody said the other day when I was over at the Patriots Day doing my invocation, they said, well, why do we need another building? That's not the point. The point that we speak about here and now is that Rudy Giuliani made an affirmation. And this divine energy force that we are attached to, that we are, responded in kind. And what's kind of neat is this. I'll read it to you. It's kind of neat. We're now 81 stories high. Think about that. Whether you think we should build an office building that's over 104 stories is not the point here. The point is that we're powerful spiritual beings. That we can do this. 104 stories high. Awesome. But what's kind of neat about this, and I love it, it's going to be 1,776 feet tall. What's that about? That's our response to the universe, saying that we are free people. And on July 4th, 1776, we declared our independence. Let's clap for that. That's good. These are emotions, these are tears, and these are important items that we tell. But it's not so much about a building. It's not so much that on the 16-acre site, there's going to be 5 skyscrapers. I can't even talk. There's going to be a museum, there's going to be a transportation hub. The footprints of those 2 towers will have waterfalls, and those are done, and with the names of all who lost their lives. They'll all be there. But what's important is that Rudy Giuliani made a declaration. It was like a vow. And it's what we are, what we can do. When we feel strongly enough about something in our life, we can make that declaration and say, this is the way it is, because we have the power to do it. But we can't just mouth the words. We've got to bring into play the feeling that you saw with me here. I get a little emotional, once in a while. But the feeling, how does it feel to see the skyscraper going up 104 feet? I, for one, it's a building. But just the idea of it, just magnificent. Another thing that happened during that same time, before he gave his talk, this blind man and his dog. How many of you know about the blind man and his dog? Kind of an interesting story of how this idea of affirmation really works in our lives. This blind man dog just got a job there on the 71st floor. And so when the first tower got hit and started going down, they were told to stay put. But his seeing eye dog named Sally decided differently. Sally was not connected, didn't have the harness on now. So Sally was running back and forth. He was whining and barking, and he'd come up to her master and nudge him, nudge him, nudge him. The Spirit works in magnificent ways. And so he went in her on it. He thought, what should I do? Do I stay put? What do I do? So the guidance came to him, listen to your dog. And he did. He put the harness on Sally, and they started down the staircase. And they went a few stories down, when all of a sudden the first responders coming up and the people going down, there wasn't enough for him. Seeing our dog trying to take him downstairs, decided there wasn't enough room. So the man decided, I'll just let Sally go ahead. And just go ahead, Sally, and I'll just go along the railing, and I can make my way down. Okay. So Sally jumps and goes ahead several stories down, and then all of a sudden she stops, and she turns around and goes back. As if to tell him, I will not leave this building without you. Isn't that cool? Let's clap for Sally. Sally took the man out and away from the building just before it collapsed. So just as we have the cell phone, and just as our cell phones need to be battery charged. I don't know if you've ever been on your cell phone. I was at an airport once, and for some reason the flight was changed, and I was at the wrong place, and my cell phone battery was dead. And I'm trying to start, after I spent an hour on the damn phone, darn phone. And so gosh, it's terrible. But our spiritual cell phone needs to have a charged battery as well. It's our feelings. What I feel matters. Let's say that. What I feel matters. That's the language of God itself. That's what God responds to, is our feeling. Because this is a vibratory, pulsating universe. And we'll get to that later. I cannot speak and desire abundance if I feel lack. Can't do it. I can't feel healthy and complete if I feel always sickness. And I need to feel what I want to experience. It's really... So when Mayor Judy did that, he felt it. Every cell in his body radiated this idea that we will make it. Esther and Jerry Hicks are very awesome folks, and they talk about this energy field as a vibratory. It's a vibratory energy field that each of us, through our senses, our physical senses, feel the vibration of the universe. We're feeling this vibratory energy all the time, that we are a pulsating individual. Now we can say, well, that's nonsense, I don't feel any of that stuff. But the bottom line is, have you ever gone into a building, or have you gone to a store and you felt uncomfortable? Anybody do that? You not only felt uncomfortable, you want to get the heck out of there as soon as possible. That's the universe expressing itself to us through a vibratory pulsating